Hello and happy new year. So it's the 1st of January and I thought I'd record a daily update because I've been a little bit absent over the festive period. So where have I been? Nowhere. Here, as always. Christmas Day, and apologies, I was in the middle of recording a Christmas episode and actually the ending of it would have been quite fitting. So basically I was recording a bit about previous Christmases on a boat or whatever, and then this Christmas, and yeah, I shouldn't start the video like this because then people are gonna think, yeah, whatever. But um, I was trying to do it in a fashion of like tell a Christmas story, and it's probably actually going to be quite good. And then what happened was while filming Christmas Present, because I was doing it based on a Christmas Carol, while filming Christmas Present, please bear with me because I know I might sound crazy at the minute, but whilst filming the part about Christmas Present, walking around the port, I got back, and strangely, here in the middle of nowhere, some people, one of which I'd met in the last port I was in before here, another guy was shouting Jay at the front of my boat. So, you know, it would have been a fitting part of the story that actually ended up happening. And in the end, we ended up going and playing some guitar. I pretended I knew how to play the harmonica. I've never played the harmonica in my life, but I pretended like I knew what I was doing. And I can play a little bit of guitar, but I don't know much more than like 3 songs. So ended up doing that. On the way back in the dinghy, the inevitable happened, and phone probably number 12, I've lost count now, has gone in the water. So I realised when I got back onto the pontoon, by then it's it's dark. I'm not going to go look for the phone in the dark. So I thought I'd go look the next day. I've tried a few times to go look or see if I left it in the other boat, but yeah, it was gone in the water. So yeah, it would have been probably a good episode, and actually still did manage to get some of the footage off my phone before that happened. So maybe it still will be an episode. But yeah, sorry about that. I did come on post that I was going to get that posted hopefully on that night, and then ended up going and playing guitar and having a few wines with some other people who were a bit like me. So I'm sure nobody would begrudge me doing that on Christmas Day. And it's funny how it happened because yeah, other than that, I was sat here on my own on Christmas Day, and I'd thought a lot what to do on Christmas Day because obviously most people, most channels like this, I guess, would normally, well, they're either in the Caribbean having a jerk chicken, rice, and beans, which would be nice for Christmas dinner, or have gone back home to spend with friends and family. Um, the issue I have at the minute is I can't really leave the boat. So it's not that there was zero options to go somewhere for Christmas, but I know last Christmas there ended up being strikes, and it's actually, well, last night a year ago that I got back to the boat, but I never planned to get stuck in England for as long as I did, and that in itself, the trip back here, I ended up having to get like a flight to Florence in Italy and take a bus overnight. And I think I might have mentioned before on here that just my luck, I ended up on the train and some people drunk or whatever, and I got attacked. So yeah, the whole period, Christmas, New Year, honestly, I know it sounds miserable, and that's another reason I wanted to do the episode I was going to do. But there's a reason for it. It's not ever that I don't really want to like Christmas. I'd like to like Christmas, and I was saying about previous Christmases where I spent one Christmas actually here in a small boat I had before, and yeah, I was the only Christmas lights in the port. I had like a little ho 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 Santa's grotto like light up on the front of the boat. So in the dark, all you could see for miles around was just my my Christmas decorations. This year, though, the way I was looking at it was, it's not that I don't want to like Christmas. I hope I can do everything I can do to make sure the next one is, I'm somewhere where I want to be. And very briefly too, what I'd say on that subject is, someone asked me the other day, what do you do for fun? And it really, like, it didn't catch me off guard, but I stuck to find an answer, because now the things that I would describe as fun, sailing, etc., is just now part of my day-to-day life. And there's so many boats here in this port and in various different ports where people come down on the weekend to take the boat out for a sail. And I'm sure if I was in that situation, which I was when I used to work and I used to just go to the boat on the weekend, or even the year that I still lived on the boat pretty much every night, it weren't my entire life. But now it's become my entire life. I'm not saying I wouldn't get any fun from taking the boat out for a sail, but for example, if I tried to do that now, it's all of the worries that are involved, because it's not a case of going down to the boat on the weekend, taking it out for a little sail. And as we all know, the boat is broken. So the risk now to add more damage to something, or to myself, with the way the boat is, it's not really a good idea. So for that reason, and over the last week, while it was Christmas, really it was just a case of seeing it through. Um, I did post a Merry Christmas because I should, and it was important. I thanked everyone, and again to thank, because I know not everybody watches shorts that go onto YouTube. I know I don't watch shorts that go onto YouTube. I just post them sometimes because I get, a few people might not have seen the channel before, and a short about something might show them the channel for the first time, and that does work, because there's been a few times recently where someone who's never seen it, I've put I'd say a silly short on, and someone's then come along to the channel and then watched through all the episodes. So, but I know not everybody does watch them. So I'll again would like to thank everybody, just everybody generally, who has even just watched the videos, um, and then supported as well on Patreon and Coffee. It really, it's YouTube itself. Sometimes I look at it and think, "Oh, maybe it's not doing so well." But yeah, I looked on Coffee and Patreon. I think it was this morning. So yeah, I had a look on there, and I thought I'd click on like Lifetime, and the fact that over the since I set that up, and I don't think it's even been on a full year, between the two, we're probably looking at around about 800, 800. I can't remember if it was in pounds or what it was in, but that really, when I think about it, is crazy. I was a bit reluctant to even set them up at the start, because it's always hard to mention money when you're doing something like this, because you don't want it to come across like you're asking people to help. And somebody did actually message me the other day about my knee, saying, "Why don't, like, if you need any help with it, I'm happy to help." And I've never met this person before, and I think I've said a few times I will do an episode about, over the last year since I've been doing this, the kindness of strangers is really quite something. And I don't even just mean financially. I mean, if you go back to last January, this time last January, I'm in Saint Raphael, that port that I was in, where this all started, like with episode one. And my situation, I didn't, everything was new. Um, I'd left a job I'd done for a long time. I was, on my own here, and I had to just do what I was going to have to do. And at the time, I didn't really know anyone where I was. It was winter, so January, and I was kind of there on my own. And to start with, on that year, as I said here before, the issue, and someone actually came to help. So that was an initial stranger that then, showed a lot of so that showed a lot of kindness, and then going forward within that year, because you have to do things a lot differently to how you'd normally do it, you kind of come across people. So I don't just mean financially people who have helped me. I mean, you know, there's been people who have taken me to the shop where I'm in a port, and I need to go quite far to a bigger shop or whatever, or people who have given me advice, or the people on here who have tuned in and watched every episode and offered me support along the way, and friends who have, this is financial, but while waiting to earn some more money, have lent me a bit and not just told me I need to just go do normal life, but understood why I'm doing what I'm doing, or even people who have left nice comments about what I'm doing and to keep going, etc. So yeah, the kindness of strangers is something that's been, I say strangers because they're not strangers, but to start with, the strangers. So yeah, I'm recording this for the second time because the first time I recorded everything and the audio carried on, but my face just carried on like wherever it stopped me, like while the audio carried on. So I'm trying to remember what I already said and what I didn't say. But yeah, kindness of strangers, and yeah, you know, people. I always find it hard to believe that anybody watches a few of the what or an episode and wants to send somebody to help what I'm doing, and really I am beyond grateful for it. So another thing is the other morning just before Christmas, I knew Christmas was going to be quite tough because when you think about what Christmas is about and then what was actually going to be happening, it was just going to be quite tough. And in the build up to it, I'd woke up one morning quite late. The wind is blowing, a mistral, boat's noisy, and there was a little bit of, which you're gonna get whatever you're doing, I guess. But I got the laptop, took it over to the shower block to carry on editing something. Looked at the comment, see if there had been any comments or whatever, and there was a comment saying how they found this was an inspiration to help them go, or to push them in a direction to go do a similar thing. And that, yeah, wow, like I don't know how sometimes, because I've if I was watching this, maybe I'd be thinking, I don't want anything to do with any of that, like looks like a nightmare. But the fact that some people have taken something from it and it's doing what I wanted it to do, because it's quite easy to judge yourself or to compare to other channels or other sailing channels or other YouTube channels, and amount of subscribers, amount of this, amount of that. So that stuff's less important than, if a few people are getting something out of it, then it pushes you to keep doing it. And I've gained a newfound or new level of admiration for channels I used to watch where it was someone on their own, because you don't see everything as much as I try to show you as much as I can. There's parts that I haven't put on, and there's an episode in the middle of all of this, sorry, that I actually took off because I watched it back and it was too much. It was after the whole dinghy engine incident in Antibes, and watching it back, I had to just take it off. But I try to show as much as I can, but there's always going to be the parts you don't see, and you can't really record. I can't really record what an evening is like on this boat sometimes. I couldn't do it when I was stuck last winter when I was at anchor and there was no electricity on the boat. So there's only so much you can show, and I tried to show it the best I can. And I never want it to come across as like just a really sad story. So because of that, it's difficult because if I was to record an evening on the boat, quite often that evening is me just doing nothing and just like an episode I've been working on that will be coming up. It's going to be titled. I give the title because someone might steal it. But yeah, it's going to be titled something like "Freedom" or "A Captive to the Boat," something along them lines. Where we're looking to like everybody always says to me, "Oh, it must be you feel so free. You've got so much freedom." Quite a lot of the time, it's the opposite. Like now, for example, I'm I'm just here on the boat and I've got to see out the here and now in order to then hopefully later have some freedom. So it's not to say that I'd rather be doing like the 9 to 5 sort of thing because I wouldn't, but with the 9 to 5 sort of thing, you have some stability, security. Anyway, I won't go too much into this because obviously it will be an episode. But yeah, to receive a comment like that when I've got up and probably weren't having the best morning myself, that person in that comment is actually inspiring me to do it. So yeah, it's it's that sort of stuff that makes it quite easy to know I have to carry on doing it. So what have I been doing to fill my time? So I'll tell you a bit of a story. Obviously, I've been here now for around well over 2 months, probably actually around 6 weeks. The crazy thing with that is that although sometimes, and I've definitely said this before, sometimes it feels like the time as it's passing is really slow because when you have nothing really to do, it seems slow. But then to then think actually you've passed 6 weeks there, stranded on your sailboat where you weren't meant to be, that's actually quite a long time, considering that the sun goes down at the minute at 5-ish o'clock, and that's a long time to then see out the night because I can't really, I don't. What most people are doing to pass the time is, coming from work, put the telly on, or go out to the pub with friends or whatever. So when you can't really do that and you're just passing the time, it can feel quite hard to pass the time sometimes. And the other day, I'd spent like the first month ish of being here, still trying to catch up with videos and then trying to think of some ways to make money. So, as you will know if you've watched some of the last updates, tried to make some designs for t-shirts and see if I could sell them. So far, zero. And I'll get onto it, but when you're doing that and recording yourself doing it and it's not really working, it's quite hard not to feel a little bit silly. So we've not given up with that, but it needs some investment, let's say. Like for now, I think if you probably click on it, it's probably off because I've not paid the subscription for the website because surviving is more important than paying a subscription for a website that might or might not work. And there will be an episode about this because obviously trying to do it with no money, something that people will tell you is easy to do, isn't as easy as people say it is to do. So I'd done that for a bit, and then when you're doing that day and night for the best part of a month, and it's not really getting you anywhere, it's quite hard to keep motivation on it. So then, yeah, we were still putting the YouTube videos on, um, and that's in the last month, 2 months, put on quite a lot of episodes. So when I actually got here, we were still on the episodes back at the back end of last winter. So I have managed to put quite a lot of episodes on in that time. So that's a good distraction of time. But because the GoPro is broke, the editing is taking a lot longer, and still the video quality is not so good. And because I broke the SSD drive, I can't edit the videos in 4K anymore. So I'm having to like export them once as a from the big file to make it just into HD. And for example, this morning I've done parts which will be the next episode, and it took 4 hours to just export the files, and then I have to edit through the files, so it all takes a bit longer. But that obviously takes quite a lot of my time. And then Christmas was coming up again, and I just, oh, what should I just watch something like? And it's hard to not admit to committing crime, so I won't admit to committing a crime. How can I say this without dobbing myself in? I'm not too sure. But basically, when you used to, I'm just gonna say I was thinking about buying something to watch because I can't stream in the boat at night time, and just something a bit different, a distraction basically to pass the time. And I had a bit of a look what films have come out in the last year, and I'm more for like watching documentaries, I guess, than fictional things. But I had a bit of a look, and then I just thought, why? Because it's something you've learned in the last year is how to pass time without just watching something that is fairly pointless, not real life or whatever. Something along the lines of like EastEnders, for example, or Emmerdale. Um, but it's an easy way to pass some time. So I was thinking, what can I do? And I had this idea the whole of the winter that I'd quite like to carve wood. I've always thought, well, not always, but for the last couple of years, thought it would be quite cool to be able to do it. So I have here my first attempt at trying to carve something from wood. I'm not entirely sure what it will be yet, but I just had this thought. I'm surrounded by wood that's fallen off the tree, so I'm not going around chopping any trees down. So don't worry, like I'm just using the wood that's already on the floor. But there's loads of it, so I thought, oh, we'll give it a go. I've got a, I've got a knife that I can use to try carve it, whatever. And if I could learn that as a skill, maybe I could make some money from it because there's a few shops in towns like this that sell hand, well, not even necessarily hand carved, but just things that are made from little bits of driftwood and stuff. Like, for example, I see a birdhouse made of like little bits of carved out tree branches and then all glued together, and they sell for decent money. So I'm not sure where or how we'll sell them, but it's just another idea. But if not, the skill, if I can learn to do it well, it'd just be a useful skill to have. And actually, I'll get onto it when I get onto actual boat updates, which is probably what everyone wants me to say rather than all of this that I'm saying. But I thought, right, there's a branch. So I took a branch and thought, what can I turn it into? So it's not the best. It's my first ever attempt at carving anything. But we have here a half finished mermaid. So I'm not sure exactly what it will be yet, but the reason we got onto a mermaid was because I'd really like a traditional sort of mermaid on the front of the boat. Is it practical? Probably not, but it'd look cool. So that's how we got onto this. And it's not finished, and yeah, it will have some arms. And what I probably am going to try turn it into is a sort of crossbow sort of thing that I can use for fishing. So I will do an episode on that if I ever get around to finishing it. But other than that, there's a few big tree logs, and I've seen it weren't made from wood; it was made from fiberglass, epoxy, and resin. Um, but like some book stops. So it's a whale basically, two halves, and the books go in the middle, and the two halves of the whale hold it together. And they might take roughly, I don't know, 5 hours each one to make, but I'm not in a position now where I can be thinking, well, if it took me 5 hours, I don't want to be earning less than what would be minimum wage, because at the minute I need to earn whatever I can earn to be able to get out of here. So it's a skill that might be worthwhile having. And coming up in season 2, talk like it's a TV program, of this will be quite a few bits of trying to make things for the boat out of what I can find without having to buy. So somebody asked me in the comments the other day about the solar panel arch, which is not actually an arch, it's a few poles roped together. And if I could show how I made it. I can't because it's falling apart. It looks like a big, not Tetris, what's the word? With a Jenga. It looks like a bigger jet, really. There was a Mistral the other day and it's hanging together by a thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one from things I can just source. So I might then have to like use a fair bit of like epoxy or varnish as well, but that's going to be a lot cheaper than trying to buy a stainless steel one. So that will be coming up, and that's what I've spent quite a lot of the time in the last month table with it, doing. And then obviously putting together the YouTube episodes, etc. So what I'll get onto now is plan going forward. Right, so the plan going forward, um, firstly regarding the episodes, so I am going to get back to now trying to get them episodes on from to catch up basically. There's probably not that many more to do, and well, there's a little bit of time I was in here. So in the last episode where I was in Porkerall visiting that little gorge, and then after that there was a Mistral I had to go over to here. I ended up being there for a bit longer than I actually thought I was there, but episode wise there's not that much on it because I was I was trying to record. To be honest, that was when I initially was like stranded in the south of France, because I just got there and didn't really know going forward what I was going to do. So a lot of that is there's not. I was struggling to record. I don't really know how to explain, but I just couldn't really couldn't really get my thoughts enough together. So actually, footage-wise, even though at the minute there's loads of footage that I have to go through and see which parts are worthwhile, there's not actually much on there of what I did while I was in here. So it was maybe 1 or 2 episodes there. Then we go over to the Ciotat. There's going to be an episode about being there and then coming here, where I then got some crew and tried to do a last gasp, get out of here over to somewhere I could make some money. Which, if you've watched this before, you know what happened there. But that then takes us back, obviously, then the disaster, and then that takes us to where we are now. So there's not many more episodes to come. I'd hoped to get them on before the new year, but there's been a bit of an incident, and something with doing YouTube is it's quite difficult to say sometimes because you don't really know who watches. But I had a bit of an argument with one of the people who's here. I think it's all right enough, but for that reason, I just not really being in the shower block. So that's why we went from like nearly having an episode every day to not, because I just had a bit of a break. So going back to what I was saying about the TV and not watching TV, etc. In the end, I ended up just downloading, just gonna be imprisoned by the start of the year. Oh, I'm going to edit that out now. Can I say that? Downloading from Prime. The entire series of Only Fools and Horses, and then spent a few nights actually doing exactly what I just said. Not, and I think it was needs must, to be honest. It's not that I was fed up of doing YouTube videos, because I'm not. I weren't fed up of doing YouTube videos, but being in the shower block at every night on a chair that doesn't actually fit up to the desk is it's not the most comfortable way to be spending your life. And on top of that, I have like so much that I need to think about if I'm going to get out of here. Um, so in the end, and Christmas was coming. I just needed like it was about 3 nights where I left the laptop on charge, and I just came back in at about start at about 8 and just watched Only Fools and Horses. Probably one of the best TV programs ever made. So if I'm gonna sit and watch a TV program based on not reality, a fictional TV program. That's the one I ended up watching. Um, but even with that, I felt quite aware that it weren't helping me do whatever I needed to do. But I think I've said a few times in especially in some of the real time updates, a break. If I could right now, I'd go and have just a bit of a break, but I can't really because of I need to wait and see about this boat. But yeah, that's why then there's a bit of a break in the episodes coming out. I'm gonna try now to get them caught back up, and then from there, obviously there'll be the episodes of what's going on now. So what will probably happen is I'm hoping we can finally then get to a point where I'll probably put 2 episodes a week. One will be what I'm doing within the week, but I've also recorded already some like episodes of other bits. So, for example, an episode about what I learned trying to do boat charters, boat trips in the summer and stuff. So, it'll probably be a case where on one day there's then what I'm doing every day, and then on the other end, or on another day of the week, there'll be like a sort of bonus episode. So that's the plan going forward. Um, and then what I'm doing is really going to be based on how I'm surviving here in the south of France with like not really any money, and what obviously if I end up changing the boat, etc. So while on the subject of the changing boat, I obviously got a yes for it on the 15th of December, but it's a verbal yes. So as much as and I feel bad, and I've not seen actually the guy who runs the port since, but he said yeah, and I hope I don't didn't come across as being like because he said, oh, the guy said yeah, and obviously that's great news. It's a lifeline. But then he also then said, yeah, we'll do it in January after the holidays. So I'm not sure when it's classed as the end of the holidays. But at the minute, I'm like kind of in limbo because a verbal agreement can then become not a verbal agreement. So all of the things I was planning to be doing, like maybe sorting this one out, then kind of became pointless because I can put loads of time and effort into this and still not be able to sell it. And this is going to be an episode coming probably next week because I actually need everyone's help on it because I don't really know what to do. Um, so then it was a case of it's a waiting game really. So that's what I've been doing. I'm waiting, but yeah, I don't know. There's I was hoping it was going to be quite quick, and then I had something to focus on. Whereas because I didn't then have something to focus on, I've just been just passing the time, I guess. But yeah, that's the plan going forward. This I hope I got on today on the first. Depends how long it takes to upload. Um, And yeah, did I have anything else to update? I don't think. I don't think. So yeah, the episodes are still coming. I'm still at it. Um, and yeah, there's just been a bit of an absence recently. Just it was mainly because I just needed a bit of a break from being in the shower block every night, especially after a small argument. And yeah, I can't really say too much about it because I don't know if said person watches, and then I'm going to have another argument. So who knows? Yeah, and then obviously another phone down. But at the minute, I can't really do anything about it anyway. But it's quite good not to have the distraction of looking at stuff on my phone. It's not really the best way of spending my time. Like scrolling through random things, Facebook, etc. So yeah, that's where we're at. The plan is to still find a way to get out of here. It's obviously we're we're on a very thin tight tightrope. Is that the word? Tightrope. Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but that's still the plan. And I do think I've got quite a lot of interesting things to show. So stay tuned for that. And again, a big thank you to everyone who's watched the videos recently, commented, liked, shared, subscribed, helped on Patreon and Coffee because it's really, 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 really helping. So thanks for that. And I'm hoping I can get the next actual episode on. Maybe by tomorrow. That doesn't help, does it? Maybe by the 2nd of January, and then get back into catching up. And the sooner we catch up, the sooner we can you can help me. That's what I mean by we work out what to do from here. So see you next time.